I wanted to introduce my son and daughter to golf.
Okay.
Just to get their taste buds wetted.
Okay.
And whether they pick that up as a sport in future or not, it's not up to me.
Right.
But at least let me introduce them to the
And
sport.
credit card helped do that
Of course.
for free,
Of
I would
course,
think, yeah.
of course.
Okay, great.
And you get to spend a nice afternoon with your family at a golf course, hit some rounds, and have a nice lunch or breakfast, whatever.
Today, I have on the podcast Bhisham Krishnani with me. Thank you, Bhisham, for agreeing to be a part of the show. Would you like to tell the audience a bit about what you do?
Sure. Thank you, Ankush. Pleasure to be here. My name is Bhisham, like Ankush said. I work with a consulting firm called Capco. I'm a managing principal with them.
Okay. Okay. And what do you do as part of the job?
So I manage a P&L. I have
Okay.
a team that reports into me. And like I said, I manage a P&L.
Okay, okay, great. So we have this common connect, and that's what we are here for, to talk about credit cards. So I want to understand how your journey started with credit cards. Like, when did you get interested in them?
Sure. So I've been married for, let me make sure that I get that right. I've been married for 12 years now.
Okay.
So I got married in 2012. And immediately after marriage, I wanted to buy a house, right, in Bangalore. So I knew I will have a credit score, a credit history, because I have a home loan account.
Okay.
But I wanted to ensure that my wife also has a decent credit history.
So that you could together take a home loan.
Or I mean, that was not the thought. I just wanted my wife to have a good credit score.
Okay.
So that in future, if she wants to do any loan, wants to take any loan, God knows for whatever reason,
Right.
she should have a good credit history.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So she already had a Citi Prestige card,
Okay.
but we had closed that down. So we started our family credit history with my wife's first credit card, really, HDFC Regalia.
Okay.
So that's how we both started our credit card journey.
So about 12 years ago.
That's right.
Okay. And and what has happened in the last 12 years? What has your experience been with credit cards? How have you been using them? For what have you been using them?
Sure. So initially, it was just an instrument, like I said, to help my wife build her credit card history,
Okay.
right? And have a decent credit score. So soon enough, I started to see the benefits of using a credit card, right? The initial benefits that I would extract from credit card was to have book my show vouchers.
Okay.
And I will call my entire family. I mean, I have a big family on my side and my wife's side. And I'll keep my collar up high. Look, I got these free book my show vouchers for you.
Right.
Do you want to go see a movie? And everybody was very happy. And I feel very proud of myself. Look, I'm getting all these family members free book my show vouchers to go see a movie.
Yeah. It was a humble brag.
Yeah, it was a humble brag indeed. And and you also collect points, right?
Right.
At that point, I wasn't paying much attention to the value of points.
Right.
And I would start using those points to get the vouchers.
So you'd convert the reward points into vouchers of brands. So what kind of brands?
So Pantaloons, West Side,
Okay.
Shoppers Stop.
Right.
And I think one point in Regalia, I think it's still the case, but its one point is around 25 paisa.
Okay.
So
So against 10,000 points, you'd get vouchers for 2,500.
something like
Okay.
that, right? And I was still very happy because I'm going to Shoppers Stop and shopping, and like literally everything is for free, right?
Right.
Or I pay very minimum amount on top.
Right.
So I again feel like, oh, I'm very smart guy, right?
Right.
I mean, like I'm using all these vouchers for
Right.
free,
Yeah.
and doing the shopping. So that was my initial journey with
Okay.
Regalia.
And how long did that last?
So for a very long period of time, I think 5-6 years, we continued to use Regalia. And initially the credit limit was 3 lakhs.
Okay.
Then they offered to upgrade it to 5 lakhs, which I was initially hesitant to because I was like, I'm very happy with this 3 lakh limits.
Right.
Why should I go and upgrade it?
Right.
But they kept following, and for some reason, without thinking too much about it, I upgraded it to 5 lakhs.
Right.
And then eventually it got upgraded to 9 lakhs.
Right.
And my expenses also were increasing
Right.
because I had 2 kids and we were shopping a lot online. So I went with the upgrades.
Yeah.
And that 9 lakh milestone,
Yeah.
I held it for a year, and then banks called, automatically and said, look, we have a upgraded card for you, Infinia.
Right.
Would you be interested in it? I was like, sure. I mean, why not, right? I mean, again, didn't do much research. It just came to me and I went with it.
So you, without doing much research, you got one of the best cards out there.
That's right. I think I didn't even realize for the longest time the value that this card offers.
Okay.
But for me, initial benefits of Infinia were still seeing an itemized bill. So
Okay.
for every transaction, they would show you how many miles you're earning, or sorry, how many points you're earning.
Right.
And then this got me started to think, because Regalia doesn't give you an itemized bill.
Oh,
At the end of the day, you just see these are the total number of reward points you have earned.
Right.
So then I started to do a bit more drilling down.
Okay.
Look, this transaction was less than 150.
Right.
I didn't get any points for this.
Right.
Or like, how can I optimize my spends so that every transaction is fetching me points?
Right.
And then I started reading more about it, that I have been foolish,
Right.
actually, that I've been using these brand vouchers and losing 75% of the value on a point
Right.
when I could have used this on travel to maximize the returns.
So your journey has been from you, redeeming for vouchers to now redeeming for travel.
So now I exclusively use my cards for travel, because I've realized you can extract so much value
Right.
on these points if you're using them for travel.
Yeah, you can extract 1 rupee value very easily, but you can go even higher than that if you convert your points to miles and then book via that. Yeah, and while we were on the subject of credit limit enhancement, I would like to add something here. It is almost always a good idea to accept a credit limit enhancement, even if your spends are not increasing. The reason is your credit limit utilization decreases if your credit limit increases, and that positively affects your CIBIL score if you're using less part of your overall limit, right? So I personally think it's a good idea to always get a limit enhancement whenever you're offered one.
I agree with you. Now I realize that.
Yeah.
At some point I did not.
Yeah.
But that's a very valid point.
Yeah. Great. So so it's now, since you use for travel your reward points, any interesting travel stories that you have that you'd want to share?
So up until I think COVID,
Yeah.
right? I think until actually last year, our family credit card, like I said, was only one credit card, thanks to my wife,
Okay.
Infinia.
Okay.
And that was it, right? I soon realized that I can extract 33% returns on hotels when I'm using Infinia.
Right.
But then magically, December of 2022, I believe, I've been watching YouTube videos. I came across a video on Access Magnus card,
Okay.
and I started to read about it. I started seeing more videos about it, and I realized it seems to be a magic credit card
Right.
out there. Then I
For a while it was.
for a while it was
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah.
So I immediately applied for Magnus credit card,
Yeah.
and I think December 2022 I got the credit card.
Okay.
So you will know, before it was devalued last year, for a 1 lakh spend a month, you would get 25,000 points
Right.
that you can convert 5:4,
So 20,000 miles.
20,000
Yeah,
miles, right?
yeah.
So, I mean, anybody can see the value of 20,000 in a lakh, 20%
Yeah.
straight out, right? So I did that, and Accor miles, right? If
Yeah.
you convert, one value of Accor mile is 1.8
8 rupees, yes.
So it's actually 20%.
So roughly 40%,
That's-
36%.
That's right.
Yeah.
So kept using Magnus credit card until it got devalued in September last year.
Yeah.
I accumulated close to 1 lakh points,
Right.
1 lakh plus points on my Magnus, and I converted all of them to Accor.
Right. Okay.
And we had been planning a trip. So this has been our endeavor now as a family to take one international trip a year.
Okay.
Because my kids are still small.
Okay.
So I have two kids, 10 and 7. So before they start growing up, go to college, live their own life, we try as much as we can to do one international trip a year.
Okay.
So those Magnus reward points that I'd converted to Accor,
You
gave-
converted them before the devaluation happened.
before the devaluation, because I think it was your LinkedIn post
Yeah.
where I first found out about the devaluation, and then it was all over the news. I
Right.
think it became a national news at
Yeah,
some
it
point.
did, yeah.
So I realized I can actually go live in a very a really luxurious hotel in Dubai for 8 nights, Rafaels, with the points I'd accumulated. But I wanted to take my dad and my sister. So we took 2 rooms
Okay.
in Novotel in Dubai for 8 nights.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
practically free because you have to pay some small amount of tax
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was one of the best experiences that I realized I had
Okay.
with my points on credit card.
So, do you mind sharing how old you are?
So I'm 47 right now.
So that means you got on the credit card bandwagon pretty late, because nowadays we see kids in 20s and early 20s also getting credit cards. You started pretty late. Why was that? Why did you not get a credit card like when you were in 20s? Did you have any reservations around that, or like, yeah?
So, I mean, 20s, I can't say, right? I mean, frankly, I came to my senses with my financial journey after I got married, I can say that.
Okay.
So I've been living overseas for most of my adult life.
Oh, I see.
I studied in US,
Okay.
I worked in Europe. So I never really needed an Indian credit card, I
I
guess,
see. Okay.
because I was overseas.
Yeah.
I came back in 2010 and got married, and then so I did held some credit cards in between, like American Express corporate card, American Express gold card, but I would only hold them for a brief period of time and close them out.
Okay.
So
Okay.
only lately is when I started to realize the power of credit card, I guess.
So choosing cards has sort of happened easily for you, but for a lot of people, it is way more complicated. For most people, one big, I think, reservation to get into credit cards is there are 400 plus credit cards in India. So most people can't even figure out what is right for them or where do they start with. Anything you would like to add to that? Like, how can people go about that?
So right now,
Yeah.
I mean, I went big bang into the credit card once I realized the potential.
Yeah.
With Axis Magnus primarily.
Yeah.
I hold 7 credit cards at the moment.
Okay.
My wife holds 2,
Okay.
Infinia being one, and one more Axis Vistara signature credit card.
Okay.
So as a family, we have 9 credit cards. My criteria of picking up a credit card, to the best of my knowledge, right? I can't claim to be know-it-all,
Right.
but my understanding is you can maximize your returns on credit card if you use them for travel, be
Okay.
it hotel or flights.
You mean the redemption on travel?
Yeah, redemption.
But spending is the first part, right? You get the right cards and then you spend on them in the right manner to accumulate maximum reward points. Now, what you do with those reward points comes later. How can people decide what are the right cards to get? Maybe based on their spending.
So I disagree with you, Ankur, that it does come later.
Okay.
But when you're researching what cards to pick,
You need to have a goal in mind. What are you looking for?
Exactly.
Understood. Totally agree. Totally agree.
and I mean, you have to have a returns calculator, right?
Okay.
I mean, like with Magnus, the beauty with Magnus was I realized top reward rate that I'm getting returns on credit card spend is 44%-ish,
Okay. Right. Right.
So that's why I go to benchmark now. With
Okay.
Infinia, if you're spending in hotels,
Yeah.
despite the devaluation on Infinia,
Yes.
right, maximum 15,000 a month,
Yeah.
still you can accumulate up to 33% return.
True.
So you have to have a goal in mind,
Right.
right? And number 2, what kind of returns can you extract? I don't go after cards which are lifetime free that will give me 4-5% returns.
Okay.
Because I will go after a card, obviously, that can give me 10, 12, 20.
Even if you have to pay some fee for it.
Exactly. And by default, my understanding is lifetime free cards wouldn't give you high returns like some of the lifetime free cards, like SBI cashback card. I understand they have devalued lounge access and whatnot.
Yes.
So it's better to pay fee. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to realize, like Axis Vistara Infinite card, for example.
Yeah.
You're paying 10,000 rupee fee,
Yes.
but you're getting a business class.
Exactly.
So it doesn't take a genius to realize that it's actually free for you,
Right.
because the cost of business class on any sector would practically be
More than 10,000.
that side.
Yeah, that makes sense actually. And I mean, since you manage P&L, I'm sure you understand it at a deeper level. But it doesn't even make sense for banks to offer a lot of benefits like lounge access on free cards, because it is also a P&L thing for them, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So great point there. And also agree. Would like to say that you have to have a goal in mind if you are someone who's interested in cashbacks. If you don't travel, let's say, if you don't travel much, and if you're just interested in cashback or maybe brand vouchers, so you decide your card based on that, the card that you get. Great. What other benefits do you use credit cards for, Bhisham?
So I have used in the past, like I said, for Book My Show vouchers.
Yeah.
Primarily now for travel, but I've also used it for golf
Interesting.
lessons because I wanted to introduce my son and daughter to golf.
Okay.
Just to get their taste buds wetted.
Okay.
And whether they pick that up as a sport in future or not, it's not up to me.
Right.
But at least let me introduce them to the
And
sport.
credit card helped do
Of
that
course.
for free, I
Of
would
course,
think, yeah.
of course.
Okay, great.
And you get to spend a nice afternoon with your family at a golf course, hit some rounds, and have a nice lunch or breakfast, whatever.
So, since we're talking about devaluation, I want to know what your views are on that, and why do you think that has been happening? Why banks are doing that so frequently now?
Yeah. So I think partially it's also to do with a lot of fin influencers out there. Any good product that comes out, I think everybody is screaming on the top of their lungs on every social media, letting people know that use this product. Now, as long as people are using a product in sincerity,
Yeah.
probably still okay. But I give you an example. I was trying to apply for SBI Vistara Prime credit card
Okay.
for the longest time.
Okay.
Initially for my wife, because I am a Vistara Gold member so far.
Right.
Devaluation has happened, that's a separate topic.
Yeah.
But I wanted my wife to have a Vistara Prime membership. But it kept getting rejected time and time again. And it was, I mean, SBI's incompetency, I would say, because they never visited the premises to do verification and they just kept rejecting. So I reached out to a senior vice president of SBI on LinkedIn, and the guy was pretty good. He just roughed up his team. I got the card, right? But during the conversation, we talked about devaluation, and I told him the reason I want to go for SBI Vistara Prime credit card is because there are only two cards in the industry right now that allow points on rent payments,
yes.
right? IDFC was still higher
Yeah.
charges. This was lower charges,
Right.
so it makes sense for me to go for it. And then he was telling me a lot of people have been misusing the credit card for doing 8 to 10 rent payments
In a month.
Yeah, in a month to their family, friends,
yeah.
whatnot. And this is not sustainable for banks,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so already it is not sustainable. Like Axis was trying to capture the market, I guess, with
Right.
Magnus. Once they did that, they were hoping probably there would be enough stickability with some customers at least. But when customers are not sincere with their credit card and misuse it, that hurts banks' P&L even more, I guess.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's my thinking.
So I agree with this point totally. That there are some people who try to game the system, due to which devaluation happens for everyone, because banks can't do it selectively, right? Although they do punish in some ways those people who do such activities. The earlier point that you made, that there are a lot of influencers now who promote the products a lot. I believe that devaluations don't happen too much because of those. If the influencer, if these influencers, they are they're talking about the good parts and they're not sharing hacks and ways in which you can game the system, I don't think that results into devaluation, because eventually the banks also want their products to be promoted, right? That's why they have launched a product and they want to get it into hands of whatever number of people they've planned, right? And also eventually the approval lies with the bank. They can not approve someone if they don't want to. I believe influencers haven't hurt or caused devaluation as much as people using the cards for sincere purchases,
I
like
agree
you
with
said.
I agree
right?
with you. Makes sense.
So Bhisham, you have multiple credit cards. How do you go about managing paying all of bills for all of the cards? How do you go about that?
So initially I started using Cred
Okay.
for paying the bills. And Cred was good for a while. I mean, it used to reward cashbacks, decent cashbacks for paying your bill. But eventually, like everything else in the world, it also started to reduce the benefits that they pay.
It's a funded startup. It had to do that.
Correct. I mean, I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I follow Kunal quite a bit.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I understand the reasoning. But as a customer,
Yes.
it doesn't make sense for me to keep using the platform. I see the value in the platform still a lot, but not to make the credit card bill payments.
Okay.
So I found out one of the YouTube videos that you can use HDFC Bank platform to pay the bills, and you get 1% cashback, which
Okay.
up to 750 rupees a month. So me and my wife have a debit card. I tried to apply debit card for my kids,
Okay.
but minors cannot have that, unfortunately.
Okay.
So right now I just use HDFC platform to make the payment.
Okay. So since you have immense experience with cards, can you please help younger kids now who are in their early 20s, understand how who are earning like 50,000-60,000 rupees a month, how to get started on this credit card journey? Should they get credit cards? And if yes, how should they get started about it?
So in my mind, there is no question about it that everybody should have a credit card. I mean, you would be a fool, in my humble view,
To leave money on the table.
to leave money on the table.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody is giving you credit for free for 45 days.
Yes.
Take that money, invest in money market, FD, do whatever you want.
Right.
Make money off it and just pay that back.
Right.
But it is very crucial to have a financial discipline.
Right.
You absolutely cannot take credit card and go on a world tour if you cannot afford it.
Yeah.
So
Or maybe gamble with it. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Jitni chadar utne paon pasari hai.
Yes.
Right? So use as much as you are able to pay back.
Right.
Right? So I have a lot of my wife's cousins, sisters, son and daughter, they have multiple credit cards. And I see they're using some really shitty lifetime free credit cards. And I keep telling them, why are you wasting your time and energy on it, right?
Right.
One of the things I hear from him is, if I close a credit card, my credit rating will go down.
Right.
And I don't know, frankly, if it is true or not. Even if it is, I don't see a reason when you're young to hold on to a bad product for too long.
Just being worried about some credit points.
History, which you can always build over a period
Exactly,
of time.
exactly.
Right? And there are too many startups. I have two kids, 10 and 7. I mean, I know of a startup, FanPay. I would introduce my son. I mean, I already talked to them about the credit cards, about Magnus, Vistara, Infinite, how we've stayed free in Dubai thanks to credit card, because I want them to understand the beauty of credit card.
You're teaching them from a very early age.
And I mean, whatever it takes, right? I mean, you have to understand, right? And I've watched some really big investors talk about the beauty of this, right? So, I mean, they should know about it. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
And in fact, I don't pay my credit card bills until a day or two before.
Yeah.
If I get my salary on 25th, I'll make an FD till 8th of next month and then pay the card. I mean, even 50 rupees interest for those days, times 12, times 7, right? Credit cards. It's the money. Why leave it on the table?
Okay.
As simple as
So,
that.
what I hear is everyone should get a card, whoever is eligible. The only thing is you need to have some financial discipline.
Absolutely. Because
Amazing.
as good of a product as it is,
Yeah.
it can also ruin lives if you don't have a financial discipline.
True. Agreed. Now, Bhisham, let's do a very quick rapid fire. I'll ask some questions. Give a one word or a one line answer. And try to answer as quickly as you can. So, how many credit cards do you have?
9.
How much amount do you spend in a year on all the cards?
About 25-30 lakhs.
What is the value of returns that you get by spending this amount?
So I've done a rough calculation. On an average, 18 to 20%.
Oh, great. What is your favorite card?
My favorite card now would be Vistara, Infinite, and Infinia, and Atlas. 3 cards.
If you have to pick one.
Okay, if I have to pick one, it would be Vistara Infinite.
Okay. What's your dream card?
My dream card, I've been reading about this American Express black card,
Centurion card.
Centurion card.
Yeah.
So, I mean, probably that would be my dream card, for lack of any other cards that I am aware about.
Okay. It may not be the most rewarding card, but it is definitely a great status symbol, and it does give you things that maybe no other card can, right?
Precisely.
So great. So Bhisham, do you think there are any gaps in the experience of using credit cards? Maybe something that the banks can do better so that people can use credit cards in a better way.
So I think this is where probably some of the startups are filling that gap.
Okay.
But what I've seen banks not do, because it's a season of devaluation for last few years now, there are categories in which the devaluation is happening. For example, groceries,
Right.
or fuel,
Right.
or rent payment,
Yes.
right? So what I would like to see in my credit card bill payments that banks send out is a category-wise spend.
Okay.
So which I don't get to see. I will have to manually download the statement in an Excel and do it myself. But it would tremendously help if banks could accumulate the most frequently spent categories, being groceries, fuel, rent, whatever, right? And give a monthly spend, annual spend on the category. That also helps families, probably, in my view, to plan their spends better.
Right.
I can pick up a category and see, okay, maybe I'm not spending optimally in this particular category. I need to do something about it.
Right. If the banks don't do it, maybe we will at Multiply.
I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
this is a gap for probably startups to fill.
Right.
But see, some people, and I'm sure you would appreciate that, Ankush, some people will still be apprehensive of sharing that data
Agreed.
with the startup until there is a level of confidence.
Yes, a level
So-
of trust needs to be there. Definitely,
trust.
definitely. Great. It's been great talking to you, Bhisham. You've shared some amazing stories and experiences. Thank you so much. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I hope you had a good time as well.
I did. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.